High above the valleys of the Jordan River lies a rocky plateau. It's called the Golan Heights. From here you can see Israel, Syria, Lebanon, and beyond. Whoever holds the heights controls the land below. For centuries, it was farmland, but in modern times, it became one of the most strategic and contested pieces of land in the Middle East. Today, we explore the history of the Golan Heights. For centuries, the Golan Heights was part of Greater Syria, a land of Druze villages, orchards, and cattle grazing. Under the Ottoman Empire, it was a quiet rural district. After World War I, the French controlled Syria, while the British ruled Palestine. The Golan sat along the uneasy frontier between the two mandates. The area was mostly inhabited by ethnic Druze, who had their own semi-autonomous region within Ottoman Syria. They followed a unique religion blending Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. The rest of the population were Sunni Muslims. Scattered around were also small communities of Alawite and Ismaili Muslims, as well as Jewish farmers along the Israel-Syria border. When the British established the State of Israel in 1948, the Golan became a Syrian military stronghold overlooking northern Israel. This strategic position would prove crucial in the wars to come. For now, though, it was a sleepy frontier town. The Mandate era ended, and the Arab-Israeli conflict began. In May 1948, as Israel declared independence, surrounding Arab states launched an invasion force to destroy the fledgling Jewish state. Caught off guard, Israeli leaders ordered their forces to repel the attacks. But for the next few months, the small Israeli army struggled against the combined might of the Egyptian, Syrian, and Iraqi armies. As Israeli forces retreated, they fell back to the Golan Heights, which offered natural defenses and overlooked the fertile Hula Valley. For nearly 20 years, the border was a tense front line, where the Syrian army would regularly shell Israeli settlements in the valley. Sporadic firefights, raids, and shelling plagued the frontier. It was a brutal time, and the casualties mounted on both sides. The Golan was just one theater in a larger Arab-Israeli conflict, which saw fighting erupt around Jerusalem, Gaza, the West Bank, and the newly created State of Israel. As armies clashed, entire villages were destroyed, and tens of thousands of people were killed. While the fighting eventually subsided, the root causes remained, setting the stage for future conflicts. In June 1967, a clash between Israel and Egypt over control of the Gaza Strip escalated into a wider conflict involving Israel, Syria, Jordan, and Iraq. Within 6 days, the course of the Middle East was changed forever. On June 5th, Israeli fighter jets struck Egyptian airfields, destroying much of their air force. 2 days later, Israeli ground forces crossed into the Sinai Peninsula and advanced towards the Suez Canal. Meanwhile, another Israeli force pushed north to capture the Golan Heights. The mountainous terrain was steep, unforgiving, and heavily fortified. But after 2 days of intense fighting, Israeli troops captured the entire plateau from the Syrians. Some 8,500 Israeli soldiers fought against 12,500 Syrians, resulting in 223 Israeli casualties and an estimated 700 to 1,000 Syrian casualties. During the war, hundreds of Syrian tanks, trucks, armored vehicles, artillery, and planes were destroyed or captured. With the fall of the Golan, Syrian President Gamal Abdel Nasser realized that his forces were no match for the Israeli military. On June 11th, a ceasefire was declared. But the war's impact on the region would echo for decades. The 6-day war ended with Israel in full control of the Golan Heights, Gaza, the West Bank, the Sinai Peninsula, and East Jerusalem. These territories became key points of contention in future conflicts. But how did this change the Golan itself? The war devastated Syria's economy and military capabilities. The loss of the Golan Heights not only diminished Syria's territorial integrity, but also deprived them of valuable agricultural land and water resources. This defeat deeply affected the Syrian identity and fueled resentment towards Israel, which only intensified calls for its return. On the other hand, the Golan's strategic importance for Israel grew. Controlling this elevated region gave Israel a vantage point to monitor and potentially strike targets across the region. The psychological impact of being able to observe and potentially influence events in neighboring countries contributed to Israel's resolve to maintain its presence there. Furthermore, the Golan's natural beauty and potential for agriculture made it appealing for settlement. Many Israelis, attracted by its picturesque landscapes and fertile soil, started calling the Golan home. But the reality of life in this region was far from idyllic. The threat of future conflicts loomed large, and the possibility of being caught in crossfire was ever present. This constant tension added a layer of anxiety to daily life. Nevertheless, the allure of the Golan proved strong, and many Israelis, driven by a combination of ideology, adventure, or simply the desire for a better life, chose to settle in this contested territory. On October 6, 1973, during the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur, Syrian and Egyptian forces launched a surprise attack against Israel. The Syrian objective was clear: reclaim the Golan Heights. The first day of fighting saw Syrian tank columns penetrate deep into Israeli positions, reaching the Sea of Galilee. However, within 3 days, Israeli counterattacks drove Syrian forces back across the ceasefire line. Despite the setback, the war proved costly for Israel, shattering the notion of their military superiority. In total, the war resulted in 18,300 casualties among Israel's ranks and 10,000 among Syria's. While the Golan remained under Israeli control, the Yom Kippur War underscored the continued instability in the region and served as a reminder of the ongoing tensions over the territory. In the aftermath of the war, both Israel and Syria sought support to bolster their positions. Syria found an ally in the Soviet Union, which provided them with substantial military aid, including advanced weapons and training. At the same time, Israel strengthened its ties with the United States, which emerged as a crucial source of support, particularly in the realm of intelligence sharing and covert operations. These realignments of alliances had profound implications for the region, setting the stage for future conflicts and interventions. As the Cold War intensified, the Golan Heights became a focal point of the broader geopolitical rivalry between the Soviet Union and the United States. Both superpowers saw the territory as strategically important, and they actively supported their respective allies in their claims over the Golan. The Syrian-Israeli conflict over the region took on a new dimension as it became entangled in the larger global struggle between communism and capitalism. In 1981, Israel formally annexed the Golan, passing a law applying its laws, jurisdiction, and government over the area. The move drew widespread international condemnation. No country recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan, and the United Nations Security Council passed several resolutions calling for the territory's return to Syria. Despite the international pressure, Israel held firm, citing security concerns and the deep ties between the Golan and the State of Israel. One significant event that shaped perceptions of the Golan Heights was the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. This catastrophic event left a lasting impact on the region and contributed to the historical disputes over the area. The eruption's effects on agriculture, trade, and the environment were profound, shaping the economic and social landscape of the Golan Heights and influencing the way it was perceived and utilized throughout history. For centuries, the Golan Heights remained relatively isolated from the turbulent events unfolding in the Middle East. However, as the 20th century progressed and the Arab-Israeli conflict intensified, the Golan found itself at the center of a struggle for land and power. The region's strategic location and natural resources made it a coveted possession, leading to conflicts and tensions that continue to resonate today. The possibility of a lasting peace agreement seemed tantalizingly close in the 1990s, when Israeli and Syrian officials held secret talks aimed at resolving the conflict over the Golan Heights. Sources revealed that Syria was prepared to cede 90% of the territory in exchange for a withdrawal of Israeli troops to the internationally recognized border. Despite these promising negotiations, the peace process ultimately collapsed due to disagreements over the exact border demarcation and Israel's insistence on maintaining control over the Sea of Galilee, a vital water source. Today, the situation remains unchanged. The Golan Heights continues to be a point of contention between Israel and Syria, with each side holding firm to its claims. The Syrian government insists that the Israeli occupation is a violation of international law and has consistently called for the territory's return through diplomatic channels and military action. Israel, on the other hand, views the Golan Heights as an integral part of its sovereign territory, citing historical, cultural, and security reasons for its continued presence there. As the Middle East grapples with ongoing conflicts and shifting alliances, the future of the Golan Heights remains uncertain. Will the Golan Heights always be a contested territory? Or will there come a time when peace prevails, allowing for a resolution to this long-standing conflict? Only time will tell what the ultimate fate of this strategic region will be. We hope you enjoyed this episode, with a special thanks to our supporters, who make it possible for everyone to keep learning.